Okay. So we just brush up in this knowledge check and then we'll start with our new service called VPC today. Okay. Um, cannot use CPS. What is CPS? Caps. Oh, okay. You're answering. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. So what are the bucket naming guidelines? Must be small letters. It should be global unit. It can be 3 to 60 characters. No special characters. Except dot and hyphen. Yes. Name must be unique, globally unique. It should not resemble like an IP address. Okay. Did we use HTTPS in yesterday? See, we actually directly hosted, right? So without hosting, if you try to open the object, it will be in HTTPS. Okay. If you just go for the static website, it will be showing only HTTP. Ending, you should not end or start with hyphen. You should not write an IP address. Cool, cool, cool. Great, great. Okay. Next question. So what's a bucket and an object? What's a bucket? First of all, bucket is a folder. Okay. Is like a folder. Okay. Main level folder. Yes. So bucket is like a main level folder. Object is a file. Okay. Okay. Still answering the first question. That's okay. Object is like a file. Main is bucket is a main level folder. Bucket is a storage folder, and and its contents are called as objects. Okay. Object is a file of any kind. Okay, that's fine. Yes, correct. Bucket store the objects. Objects are the files. Okay, cool, correct. So a bucket is basically a main level folder where we can actually store the objects. Okay, and what is the min and maximum size of an object? What's the min and maximum size of an object? 0 KB to 5 terabyte. Okay. What's the maximum size of an S3 bucket? What is the someone said petabyte. No, no, it's terabyte only. Not PB, it's TB. Someone also said 5 GB. Shanmukh, it's 5 terabyte. Okay. Unlimited, huh? Great. And what is multi-part upload? Nice answers. What is multi-part upload? Divided into 2 parts. Only 2 parts. Splitting and saving huge data. Okay. Uploading objects in parts parallelly. Okay, correct. Dividing the file data into different parts, breaking into parts, more than 5 GB, uploading biggest one divided into multiple parts, size about 100 KB, yeah, MB, divide into objects, into partitions. Size is more than 5 GB of an object, then it is split into and stored parallelly. Okay, so if your object is greater than 5 GB, yes, you can multipart the 500 MB file also, yes. So usually if your object is greater than 5 GB, you are supposed to go for multipart upload. So multipart upload is basically your object would be divided into multiple parts and it will upload parallelly. Okay, yes, you can start using multipart upload from 100 MB object. Okay, so what is versioning? Multipart is a manual process. Yeah, you have to go and enable that. You have to use it. What is versioning in S3? Saving same file name without replacing. Okay, correct. Creating version of the same file. Upgradation of the object. Creating duplicates. Duplicates. No, duplicate another than same file name with different data. We can use versioning, ma'am. Yes, correct. Keeps a BKB. Backup. Updation of objects, replication of objects, making versions, keeping multiple variants, suspending and enabling. We can apply same file that replicates in versioning. రిప్లికేట్స్ అనంప రిప్లికేట్ అంటే ఏంటంటే సేమ్ డేటా కూడా రిప్లికేషన్ అని అంటారు. ఓకే, ఇట్ మైట్ హ్యావ్ డిఫరెంట్ డేటా. Okay. We cannot call it as older versions or multiple versions of the same file. Pawan. So versioning is a process of maintaining multiple versions of the same file. If we store an existing file, then S3 creates another version of the file. Okay. Keep same object, replace. Ante? Vijay? See, okay. Versioning is basically keeping the multiple variants of the same object name. Okay. So you may have different versions. So what are different storage classes? మీరు యూసెస్ వద్దులే కానీ ఇప్పుడు ఎందుకంటే మీరు స్టోరీస్ రాయాలి. Just what are different classes? You can just storage classes. You can just tell me. Okay, 6. I didn't ask how many. I just asked what are they. No problem. We have 6. One is standard. We have a glacier. Okay. Standard infrequent, fine. Try to remember. Glacier deep archive. Standard infrequent, intelligent tiring, correct. Glacier deep archive in one zone. Yes, we covered all. So standard infrequent, intelligent tiring, glacier deep archive, and one zone also. Sandeep, you missed one zone. Great. Okay. So what is lifecycle management then? What is lifecycle management? Changing storage classes. Okay. To one from one zone to another. One zone. Automatic transition from one storage class to another class. Yes, Abhishek, you are very close. Automatic transition. Actually, you are right. Yes. So lifecycle management, with the help of lifecycle management, your objects, you can actually do the transition from one storage class to another storage class. And you can also do another thing in lifecycle management. What is that? What is transition? First is transition, the other one is correct. Automate the process of object storage classes. Object expiration also. Nandana Siddha. Yes. Nandana Siddha is a girl, I think. I think so. So yes, dear. So with the help of lifecycle management, you can do. Okay. So you can change the storage class from one to another, and also object expiration. Very important. Please remember this. Oh, okay, cool. Now what we'll do, we'll start with the VPC. So guys, I just want you to keep your questions with you when I'm talking about the VPC. Okay, I am asking you to not to disturb me because I have a lot of points to discuss and I just want you to concentrate. Okay, so just listen everything, and at the end I'll give you time. Maybe it is 2:30. I will take almost up to 3:15. 45 minutes you need to concentrate. It's very important topic. It's a project. Just concentrate. Okay, guys? Yeah, I'll try my best to explain in a very simple way. I mean, it's basically a complex thing, but I'll make sure. Yes, I want you to stop chat as of now and concentrate. Okay, I mean, by the time you see the chat, you may miss some point here. It's that important. Let me just share my screen again. VPC. This VPC, guys, I'm not seeing the chat. Please don't message me. Please concentrate. Okay. So this VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. As soon as you create an AWS account, AWS would create a VPC, a default VPC in all the regions. So VPC is a kind of creating a private network in the cloud. Okay, so usually in organizations, people would create a network, the private network also. Okay, so in cloud we have VPC. It's not something new in AWS. Yes, people generally use it, but in cloud we use VPC. Okay, so um, in AWS, in North Virginia region, you create a VPC. The first point here is VPC is region specific. That is the reason this VPC is within the region. Okay, so I said VPC is basically a kind of a network. Okay, so from RFC 1918 standard, I know the color is very light. From RFC 1918 standard, we can use any one of this CIDR. Okay, so this AWS is actually following this RFC 1918 standard. So you can just Google it, what is RFC 1918 standards. Okay, so if someone need to create a network, so they need to maintain some sort of standards like this. Okay, now we will see what is this CIDR is about. So if you're aware of it, an IP address look like this, something like this, right? So this IP address is basically a 32-bit long. This IP address was divided into 4 octets. This is basically 1 octet. And 1 octet is 8 bits. So we have 4, 8 into 4, it is 32-bit. That's how it is 32-bit. Okay, so when I say it is of 8 bits, the number here can be in between 8 zeros to 8 ones. So when I just expand this, if this is in binary, if you can convert into decimal, it's basically 1 into 2 into 2 into 2, 16, 32, 64, 128. That means an octet value can be in between 0 to, if I can add all these things, I'll get 255. Okay, an octet can be in between 0 to 255, any octet, the value. This is the maximum value if I get all ones, and it varies from 0 to 255. Okay, so that's about an IP address. IP address is 32-bit long. It is of 4 octets. One octet is basically 8 bits. And 8 bits, when I say 8 bits, the value of an octet can be in between all zeros to all ones. So if I can convert into decimal, all zeros is basically the 0, all ones is 255, if I can add all those things. So the value varies from 0 to 255. Now, coming to this looks like an IP address, but there is a /16. In a network, /16 represents the first 16 bits. See, you have 4 octets, 8, 8, 8, 8, right? So /16 is the first 16 represents network prefix. When I say network prefix, all the machines within this network which I create will have this as common. You see, prefix, the network prefix. So this network will have prefix as 10.0 as common. This will never change in this particular VPC, the components which I create in the VPC. And these two is basically for hosting. When I say hosting, if you see here, this number and this number both can vary from 0 to 255. If I can see the combinations of this CIDR, I said 10.0 is common, and let's combine, or let's talk about the combinations of this. So it's basically 0, 0, it starts from 0, 0, 0, 1. I mean, we'll have all 10.0 as common, 0, 2, 0, 3, so and so forth, 0.255. Yes, the value is, maximum value is can be from 0 to 255. And let's continue this, 1.0, 1.2, so and so forth, 1.255. The same way, 2.0, 2.1, 2, 2.255. If I can continue like this, 2, 3 and all, I would be getting 255.0, 255.1, so and so forth. I would be getting 255.255. So these are the combinations I can have. These many IP addresses I can use in this network. I can have these many machines in this network. Almost, not exactly. So when I say 0 to 255, including 0, I actually have 256 IP addresses, right? That means I have 256 into 256. Okay, so that means I can have 65,000 plus IP addresses for this network. We can see how many we can use it, but that's different thing. Almost 65,000 plus. Okay, so let me just quickly repeat it. So in this CIDR, the first 16 represents the network prefix, and the second 16 represents the hosting. And I said that one octet will be varying from 0 to 255. If I can just go for the combinations, so first of all, we have 0, 0 to 255. We have 1, 0 to 255. We have 2, 0 to 255. At the same way, we have 255, 0 to 255. Okay, so in a network, we can have this many combinations. And this value, the /16, we can actually vary from /16 to /28. For your VPC, you can have from 16 to 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 till 28. So if I have /28, that means If you see here 888 basically 24, when you divide into 4 plus 4, the first 28 bits is basically for the network prefix, and I have only 4 bits for the hosting. That means I have only 16 IP addresses for this network. 2 power 4. Okay, so that is the lesser number we can actually go for a VPC, but AWS would recommend to go for a bigger number. Even if you create with /28 or 16, doesn't matter, AWS will not charge you. So for this, it will charge you more, or for this less. No, AWS will not charge you for creating a VPC itself. Okay, and AWS would recommend to go for a bigger one. Very simple. Why? Because let's take, I just need 4 machines. So I have created with this. Now I want to expand my business. Now I need more machines, more than 20 machines. So once you create a VPC with a CIDR, you cannot change it. We do have different options, that's a different thing, but it's better not to change it first of all. Okay, so once I create a VPC, now I would create subnetworks. Okay, so for subnetworks, we will be giving a CIDR. First of all, I'll tell you why I'm calling it as a public and private little later, but let's see the CIDR of the subnets. So I gave 10.0.1.0/24 for this subnet. That means, first of all, this sub network. So sub network is basically logical partitioning of your actual network. Okay, so what you're trying to do here is you're telling the first 24 is basically a network prefix for this particular subnet. So this is for the actual network, and you're including also this one for this particular subnet. That means you can have only 0 to 255 for hosting, only this for the hosting. That means you can have 256 IP addresses for this particular subnet. You can create multiple subnets. I'm just creating 2 subnets, but you can create almost 200 subnets in a VPC. Okay, and at the same time, I'm just giving here it as 2 because the subnets should not overlap. That means I cannot have 2 machines having the same IP address in a particular network. Obviously, right? If machine 1 needs to talk to machine 2, if they have the same IP address, obviously AWS first of all will not allow us, but I'm just talking if you think logically why it is not allowing us. Okay, so this here one that this thing would be fixed. That means all the machines will have 10.0.1.1 as common, and this will vary from 0 to 255. And in this subnet, 10.0.2 as common and 0 to 255. So there is no way that the IP address would be common, right? So this is differentiating from both the subnets. So that's what is overlapping. Now, I said that in this subnet, I can have, if I can just draw, like write again. So this is for network prefix and this is for hosting. So if I can write the combinations or the IP addresses for this subnet, I have 10.0.1.0, 10.0.1.1, 1.2, 3, 255. These are the combinations. So In every subnet, the first four and the last one is basically reserved by AWS. We'll see in the slides for what it is reserved for, but you have to remember that in each and every subnet, the first four and the last one is reserved by AWS. That means even if you logically think you have 256 IP addresses, you can use only 251 IP addresses. Okay, so now you can actually create the instances. But before that, when you have created an EC2 instance, we have seen that the instance are able to connect to the internet. We're updating it, we're installing it, we're actually connecting from your local machine to this. That means the instances are having internet access. So to get the internet access for the VPC, we should be having an internet gateway. So why internet gateway? To get the internet access for your VPC. So just having an internet gateway for your VPC doesn't mean that you have internet access for all the instances or the subnets. No, you have to go and route it with the help of the route tables. So now if this subnet is associated with a route table which has internet gateway as a route, this makes this subnet as public subnet. That means the instances in this subnet will be able to access to internet. Let me repeat it. So I'm justifying this term now by if a subnet is associated with a route table which has internet gateway as a route, right? So that the instances in the subnet will be able to access to internet. At the same way, if a subnet is associated with a route table which doesn't have internet gateway as a route, then it's called a private subnet. Okay, so now we will see what is the use case behind it, why I should make a subnet public and why I should make a subnet private. Very simple. Let's take, you have an application, okay, a Facebook application, very well known. You are accessing the application. Obviously, you're accessing it every day, almost. Are you able to access the database of the Facebook application? Obviously, the answer is no. You're not accessing the database. You're accessing the data in the database through application. Okay, so you are able to access the application because it is faced to the internet. And the database, it is not accessible because it is not faced to the internet. And another thing is, of course, you should not face this database to the internet. It is not good to see the database, right? Here, not only your data, it's here you will find everyone's data, which should not be accessible. Okay, so here you can just replicate the same scenario. We may not be having the application database. The reason why we are going for a public and private subnet is to have an application. If you want to deploy a traditional application, sorry guys, yeah. So if you want to have a traditional application in a VPC, you have to follow. Each and every company will follow the same thing. Okay, so making a public subnet and private subnet, you will have instances, you'll have application in the public subnet and you'll have database in the private subnet. That is a use case. I'm just talking about a use case. That is the reason we can have one public and private. Okay. Now, what we'll do, now this VPC setup is done, we can actually create the EC2 instances in each subnet. EC2. Now, this EC2 instance will be able to have access to the internet because we will be enabling the public IP. Obviously, if you want to connect to an instance, what you do? You just say sh-i, your PEM file, Ubuntu at the rate of the public IP address. Then only you'll be able to access to the internet. And of course, you will have the private IP address by default. And this instance will only have the private IP address. Will not enable the public IP address for this instance because it should not be able to access to the internet. Okay, fine. It's fine that I should not be able to access to the internet. I have an application here and I have a database here. Okay, so maybe I have installed a database engine and now I want to go for update. If I want to go for update, obviously this machine should have an internet access. So for the private subnet, to get the internet access, we have a concept called, I ran out of colors, huh? Okay, let me just go with the same color. We can have NAT. This NAT is basically stands for Network Address Translation. Uh-oh. So you have to add NAT as a route in the private route table. So whenever an EC2 instance from the private subnet is trying to access to the internet, the private IP address will translate into the network address of the NAT. Because this NAT in the public subnet, this will have a public IP address. So that it will translate from private to public to access to the internet. And when it is responding back, the public IP address of the instance will translate into the private IP address of this EC2 instance. So whenever you are accessing an internet, This this NAT is translating the network address from private to public when it is requesting, and when it is responding, it is converting into public to private, so that this private IP address is not exposed to internet. First point. And that is the reason it's called NAT. It's called NAT, which stands for network address translation. Okay, so this will translate the public to private, and private to public. Okay, now you can ask me like, so even the applications in this EC2 instance or the EC2 instance in the subnet is able to trying to access to the internet, and even this EC2 instance is able to access to the internet, then what is the difference between the NAT and internet gateway? Simple. If you install an Apache, first of all, you can connect to this EC2 instance and you can run sudo apt-get update, sudo install Apache. That means it is accessing to the internet to get the response. You are actually trying to access to the internet and you're getting the response. And we can also access this Apache from the browser. That means people from outside are also trying to access the Apache. But if you go for NAT, you can request it and you get the response, but no machines can't initiate the request from outside to this EC2 instance. So you have to understand two things. When someone is trying to request, it is a request, and when it is responding back, that's a respond. Okay, so when you just say sudo apt-get install Apache, you're actually requesting something to the internet and you're getting some lines and it is telling 100% successful. That's a response. Okay, that is this is request and this is response. But whenever you're giving the public IP address of the instance and you're accessing from the browser, that's basically a request from the outside to this. And you are sending the Apache default page. That's a response from this instance to this. So you can request and respond from here and from here also. But when you go for NAT, you can only request through the internet and you can get the response. But no request can be initiated to this database or to this instance from outside. That's make this EC2 instance still private. Even this EC2 instance is able to access to the internet. Okay, and when I go for NAT, I can talk about NAT instance and NAT gateway. Okay, so we have two types of NAT actually, NAT instance and NAT gateway. NAT instance is like a normal EC2 instance. It is just that instead of selecting an Ubuntu AMI, we select the NAT AMI. That's the only difference. I will see some of the differences. But NAT gateway is basically managed by AWS. Okay, and for NAT instance, you have to manage some of the things. We'll talk about one by one. For example, if you have multiple instances trying to access to the internet through NAT, all the instances would be hitting this NAT. If I go for T2 micro, that might be very small. If I go for M5 large, that might be very big. So you have to choose the instance type, or you have to modify the instance type according to the number of requests coming from the EC2 instance. That means you should be taking care of the instance type of the instance of the NAT instance when you're going for a NAT. Okay, but in gateway, in NAT gateway, even if one request or thousands requests or millions of requests, this NAT gateway would expand and shrink back automatically because NAT gateway is managed by AWS. You need not worry about the instance type or the processor. No. Whatever the request, it can, the NAT gateway can handle it. It expands and shrink back, first thing. When you're going for NAT instance, you should be taking care of the security group, because these instances are trying to access to the internet. You should open the protocols, obviously. But here, obviously, managed by AWS. You do not worry about it. It's very simple to create an NAT gateway. And in NAT instance, if you have public IP, like it will work for you. You can have public IP address, because NAT instance should have a public IP address. Then only, it will be able to access the internet. But NAT gateway demands an elastic IP address. So you can have elastic IP address for the instance also, but public IP address also is fine for that. But this NAT should have elastic IP address. And this is chargeable. Elastic IP address will be chargeable for us. It's not under free tier. Okay. And the last one is the source and the destination check should be disabled for NAT instance. We'll talk about that. But for NAT gateway, it is managed. First of all, we'll see what is source and destination check. Let's take I have an EC2 instance and I have a machine. Now what I'm doing to SSH into it. SSH something. So when I run this command, a request will be sent to the EC2 instance. If you see, when a request is sending, this machine is basically the source and it is sending to a destination. When it is responding back with relevant information, this is the source and this is the destination. So at some point of time, this is either the source or the destination. Correct? So it is requesting. So what is doing? Doing some process and it is sending the information. Okay. So this EC2 instance can become the source or the destination at some point of time. But if you see the NAT instance here, if you see here, when EC2 is trying to access the internet, this NAT is not the source. This is not the internet. It has to go to the internet to get the access. And when it is responding, this is not the destination. This is the destination. Let me repeat it again. When an EC2 instance is trying to access to the internet, this is the source and NAT is not the destination. Internet is the destination. And when it is responding back, this is the source, internet is the source, and this is the destination. That means NAT is neither source nor destination. It is just a mediator. So that is the reason the source and the destination check should be disabled. By default, for all the instances, it is enabled. So if you are going for an instance, you should disable that. Then only the request will go to the internet. Otherwise, it will stop here, then the request will drop. You will not get a response. That is the importance of this thing, which you need to take care when you're going for NAT instance. Okay? That's how, like if you want to deploy an application with the database in a VPC, this is the thing which you need to take care of it. Okay. Did I miss anything? I think I'm fine. Okay. So let me just give a brief on all the things which we have done. Okay. And then I will go to the queries. Okay. Now, what we have done in AWS, in a region, we created a VPC. That means a VPC is region specific. We cannot create a VPC in 2 regions at a time. No, this VPC will be in that particular region only. And after the creation of VPC, of course, we have created a VPC with a CIDR. which is maintaining a standards, which AWS is following some sort of standards from RFC 1918, and we can use any one of the IP address. And we have seen how many IP addresses we can have for a VPC. And a VPC CIDR can be from /16 to 28. And once we create a VPC, we can create multiple subnets in a VPC. What we have done, we have created two subnets. One is public and other one is a private. Okay, so public subnet, basically, we have created with a CIDR of 10.0.1.0/24. That means the first 24 bits will go for the network prefix in this particular subnet, and this 0 is for the hosting. And if I can just tell the combinations of 0 or the IP addresses for this octet, I can have 256 IP addresses. In this 256 IP addresses, the first four and the last one is basically reserved by AWS. Okay, so this would be reserved for each and every subnet. That means, logically, if you think you have only 251 IP addresses to use for your application or for your use. Okay, at the same way, we have created another private subnet with the same CIDR, maybe with a small change. And when we are creating the subnets, this subnet CIDR should not overlap. And once the subnets creation is done, then to get the internet access for this VPC, we have created an internet gateway. So creating an internet gateway to the VPC doesn't mean that it should have internet access. I mean to say all the instances will have internet access. No. With the help of route tables, we need to direct the traffic from the internet gateway to the subnets. So these route tables will play a major role. Okay. Now, coming to the justification of these terms, if a subnet is associated with a route table which has internet gateway as a route, this is called a public subnet. That means when I say public subnet, it is just that the EC2 instances will be able to access to the internet. And if I have a subnet which is associated with a route table which doesn't have internet gateway or which have only NAT, is basically called private subnet. Okay, and we created an instance in public subnet and another instance in the private subnet. And again, what is the importance of NAT? If the instances in the private subnet needs to access to the internet but privately, then you can go for NAT. What NAT will do, whenever EC2 instances are trying to access access to the internet, the private IP address of the instance will convert into the public IP address of the NAT to go to the internet, and when it is responding, the public IP address or the elastic IP address will convert into the private IP address. So it is translating the network address. That is the reason it's called network address translation. NAT stands for. And we have two types of NAT. One is NAT instance and the other one is the NAT gateway. So NAT instance should be managed by the user or the customer, whereas NAT gateway will be managed by AWS. What are the things which we need to manage? Basically the instance type. So the instance type, as said, if multiple instances are trying to access to the NAT instance, of course you should be taking care of the instance type, the processor, a good processor or a small processor. If it is overutilizing or underutilizing, you have to check it and you have to create the proper one, suitable one. And the instance type, basically you don't need to manage about that in NAT gateway. And next thing is the security group. Of course, you have to keep the protocol as open to the internet so that EC2 instance will be able to access to the internet. But in NAT gateway, it is managed again. And in NAT instance, even if you have public, it's fine. Even if you have Elastic, it's also fine, but it can run with public IP address. But for the NAT, you should be going for the Elastic IP, which is chargeable. And the last one is basically the source and destination check. So we have already seen what is source and destination check. Okay, so at some point of time, the EC2 can become the source as well as a destination. But the NAT is neither the source nor the destination. Okay, so what do you have to do? We have to disable that. But in NAT gateway, it was managed by, again, AWS. Any questions? So we'll see in the slides what AWS tells why it is reserving for that. Okay, no worries. And NAT is to convert a public to private and vice versa. NAT is used only for the purpose of not getting requests from user IP address, right? Correct. Correct. Correct, Teja. Okay. NAT is an instance. NAT, I said no, NAT can be a NAT instance or a gateway. We can have both. I mean to say we can have any one of it. And Lakshmi Priya is asking if we take a /16, AWS takes 10 reserved IP addresses. No, 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 no. No, 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 you are misunderstanding here. See, let's take our VPC is of this CIDR. And you know what? If this is a CIDR of the VPC, you can have the same CIDR for subnet also. The thing is like in the subnet is basically sub network, right? So if you utilize all the IP addresses, you can create it. The thing is you can create it. If you can utilize all the IP addresses in the VPC, you cannot create multiple subnets again. You cannot create the second subnet. This would be the first and last. Okay, so if you create a subnet, it will take the first 4 and the last 5 IP addresses. Whatever it may be the CIDR, Lakshmi, it just takes the 5 IP addresses. That's it. Okay, Lakshmi? So don't think that because of the /24, it is taking 5. No, 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 no. Whatever it may be the CIDR of the subnet, it will take the first 4 and 5. And why we have placed a NAT in public? See, very simple. See, if the NAT is there here, first of all, the NAT itself will not have internet access. How it will serve to the internet? That is the reason the NAT should be in the public subnet. Then only we can route it, so that EC2 instance will be able to access to the internet. So if the NAT is here, what will happen? It is in the private subnet. Obviously, the NAT also will not have public IP, not even the internet. Okay, Ramesh? Why we prefer VPC /24? Nothing as such, Jayashree, we can change it. You know, it is a good, easy way of representing. So the first 2 can be 16 and then lastly can be 24, that's it. VPC is like an API, yeah? See, everything is API only, no? In AWS, we just go and create a volume. A API would be triggered and it would create a volume for us. So at the back end, everything happens taken care by AWS. Okay. If I buy a VPC, you don't buy it, first of all, you create it. I have 251 IP address in the public subnet and 251 in the private subnet. Okay. Okay then. Teja, your question is not clear. So Imran Syed, the VPC is a CIDR block. CIDR block range, basically it's a private IP range. Correct, Imran? Correct. It's a private IP address range. You will see once we implement the whole thing in the console, you will get some clarity. Definitely. Okay. So does EC2 in the private subnet check for updates automatically? Even the EC2 instance in the public subnet also cannot check the updates automatically, right? You need to check it and then update it. Ma'am, can you explain public route table in brief? Hey, very simple. See, we just create a route table. How it makes a public route table? It is just that it is created, it is associated with a subnet which has internet gateway as a route. So that is the reason I'm calling it as public route table. Guys, the names which I give can be changed. It's just for our convenience. I have given these names. Yes, yes, Jayashree, it's not mandatory, no? See, I said no, from 16 to 28. Okay, so if I give some complicated number, you may get confused. You can just explore what is CIDR. It's very important for you. It's all networking concept. Okay. So I tried my best to explain a simple way. And now if you can go and browse it and Google it, you will understand. You'll understand how it works. I'm sure. If you would have listened it properly. Any more questions? That's it, huh? Oh my God. మర్చిపోయారా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగొద్దన్నానని? లాస్ట్కి నేను నాటే చెప్పాను కాబట్టి నాట గురించి అడుగుతున్నారా? క్విక్ గ్లాన్సా? మళ్ళీ చెప్పనా మొత్తం తేజ? సరే చెప్తాను. Classless interdomain range where /n is the subnet. ఓకే చెప్తాను నో ప్రాబ్లం. ఓకే నిషిత్కి కూడా కావాలి అనమాట. సరే చెప్తా నో వరీస్. ఓకే గైస్, మీరు ఏమైనా రికార్డ్ చేస్తున్నారు అంటే ప్లీజ్ డోంట్ షేర్ ఇట్ ఎనీవన్. ఓకే సి మామూలుగా మొన్న ఎక్కడో ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసినప్పుడు అడుగుతున్నారు ఇదంతా మీకు ఎక్కడ దొరికింది అని. సి దిస్ విల్ కమ్ విత్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్. మామూలుగా వర్క్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు కనుక ఇలా వస్తుంది అనమాట. సో మీరు ఒకవేళ రికార్డ్ చేస్తుంటే కనుక ప్లీజ్ డోంట్ షేర్, ఇట్స్ వాల్యుబుల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. ఓకేనా? సరే ఎవరైనా నేర్చుకోవాలంటే వాళ్ళు వచ్చి నేర్చుకుంటారు. అలా మీరు ఎక్కడ షేర్ చేయకండి. డోంట్ మేక్ ఇట్ యాస్ అ పబ్లిక్. లెట్స్ మెయింటైన్ దట్ ఇంటిగ్రిటీ. ఐ హోప్ యూ డూ దాట్. NAT to ఇంటర్నెట్ గేట్వే కనెక్టివిటీ. సి ఇప్పుడు EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఉంది. ఇట్ ఈస్ కనెక్టింగ్ టు అపాచే. హౌ? sudo apt apt install. Okay, so it is just a way to access to the internet. The same way through NAT it will go to the internet. That's it. Okay, so how EC2 is able to connect to the internet, the same way will NAT also will be able to connect to the internet. That's it. Okay, yeah. Coming to the glance. As said, as soon as you create your AWS account, you will have a VPC, a default VPC by default in all the regions or in each region. Okay, so that is the reason we have created EC2 instances. Initially, when we have created an EC2 instance, we created a default VPC. So without knowing much about VPC, we can start creating the services. Like we have done the EC2 and then the EBS and then the EFS also. Okay, so now when you're creating a custom VPC, first of all, the VPC is region specific. That means in an AWS, where we have multiple regions, we can just go for one region and you can create a VPC. And the VPC CIDR can be taken from a RFC 1918 standards. Okay, so from where you can select any one of this CIDR. Okay, and now this CIDR can range from /16 to /28. So maximum 65,000 plus and minimum of 16 IP addresses. And we can create multiple subnets in a VPC. A subnet is basically sub-networking. That means logical partitioning of your main network. Okay, so if I can talk little more about VPC or the sub-networking, మీరు కరెక్ట్గా చూడండి. ఇది నెట్వర్క్ ప్రిఫిక్స్ అన్నప్పుడు లెట్స్ టేక్ దిస్ వేరీస్ రైట్. సో 10.0.1.0 to 255, 10.0.2.0 to 255, అలానే 3.0 4.0 అని చెప్పేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే కదా? మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నామంటే ఇదొక సబ్నెట్ గా చేస్తున్నాం. See, this is a subnet. So what we're doing, 10.0.1.0/24 అంటున్నాం. అంటే we are making this as prefix, network prefix for this particular subnet, and we are just using this for hosting. At the same way for the second subnet. అట్లా ఇదేంటంటే సో ఇదేంటి లైక్ ఒక కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఫిక్స్డ్ అనమాట, ఈజీగా డివైడ్ చేయగలిగాం. Okay, so what we have done, we have created two subnets with different CIDRs, and I said that the subnet should not overlap, and in each subnet the first 4 and the last one would be reserved by AWS. And if you want an internet gateway for your VPC, you should, sorry, if you want internet access for the VPC, you should be having internet gateway. And it doesn't mean that all the instances by default will be able to access to the internet. It is just that you have to have a route table which has a subnet associated and internet gateway as a router. Then the instances in this subnet will be able to access to the internet. You see the route and the clear gisano. The same way, coming to this, if a subnet is associated with the route table which doesn't have internet gateway, that means the instances will not be able to access to the internet. But it might need an internet access for the updates. Maybe you have a critical information, but it also needs internet access for upgradations, updates, and whatever, maybe the reason. Then we have a concept called NAT, where it will translate the network address to access to the internet, hiding the private IP address. And if you go for NAT, no request can be initiated from outside to the instance in the private subnet. And we can have two types of NAT, instance and then the gateway, where you need to manage the instance type, the security group, public IP address, and then the social distance check should be disabled in the NAT instance. If you go for NAT gateway, almost everything is managed. Just for that, it is just that you should be having the elastic IP address for the NAT gateway, which is chargeable when compared to the NAT instance. Okay, and if you want me to explain the source and destination check again, for example, from your local machine, if you're trying to access to the EC2 instance and you are trying to SSH it or HTTP, whatever it may be, you're trying to hit the EC2 instance, then this machine is the source and this is the destination. And when it is responding back, this is the source and this is the destination. So at some point of time, the EC2 can be source or the destination. But if you see the NAT, if you go for NAT instance, this NAT instance is neither the source nor the destination. Okay, that is the reason we're actually disabling this check in order to make this as a mediator and get the response. Sarana, arthamainda? అర్థమైనట్టే ఉంది కానీ అర్థం కాలేదు. ఎంతమందికి ఉంది ఇట్లా? You have understood but not understood. Who agree with me? అర్థమైందా? Oh wow. How many VPCs we can create per region? I think we can create 5. Yeah. Okay. So subnet versus security group. Asla the comparison. Subnet is a logical partitioning of your network. Security group is a firewall for your EC2 instance. How do you compare, Ramesh? Subnet to security group compare. In security group, you will be defining. So if you have an EC2, security group atlante firewall anamata itla. If someone is trying to access this EC2 instance, the security group will evaluate. Asalu ee machine dini hit cheyalesada cheyaleda. Okay. So if you just keep it as anywhere as source, okay, anyone can access it. But if this machine is trying to access with some particular protocol, you have enabled SSH, but you're trying from HTTP, it will not allow. So security group is like a firewall for your EC2 instance. But subnet is a logical partitioning of your network where you can have EC2 instances. Imran said up to 100. We can create 100, but 5 is a soft limit. But to go for 100, you have to raise a request. Elastic IP ఏంటా? నేను చెప్పలేదా మీకు అసలు ఎలాస్టిక్ IP? వద్దుతా. సరే చెప్తాలే. See, Elastic IP is a dedicated public IP address. ఒక్క నిమిషం చెప్తాగండి. Let me clear these stuffs. Okay. Screenshot తీసుకోవాలంటే తీసుకోండి మీరు first of all. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take it. Please keep it handy. And please guys, please don't share. It's a humble request from my side. ఎవరైనా నేర్చుకోండి నా దగ్గర పంపించండి సరేనా. Okay, so I have an EC2 instance and I have an application, my client application. My client would be using this application only from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay. After 6 p.m. before 9 a.m. he is not using it. Till 9 a.m. he is not using it. What he can do? He can stop the instance. But when he stops the instance, the public IP address of the instance will go back to the AWS pool. And when you start again, a new public IP address would be assigned to the EC2 instance. Okay. So if a client is having a domain name, example.com, so we will be adding the public IP address under this domain name. Okay. Whenever a user or the customer or we are trying to stop and start, what will happen? The public IP address will keep on changing, and the first task as soon as you start your machine is to change the IP address under this domain name. Correct? And the client may not be happy with the process of changing the public IP address all the time or almost every day. Then we can go for an elastic IP address. This elastic IP address is basically a dedicated public IP address. That means it will not release from your account in that particular region until unless you do it. It's a dedicated. Now you can create an elastic IP address and associate with the EC2 instance. Even if you stop your instance, nothing is going to happen to your elastic IP address. It will not go back to AWS pool. Okay, so NAT gateway demands elastic IP address, which is chargeable. Which public IP address is used by NAT? Some public IP. Which ante em cheptam? AWS allocate chestadi. So is individual NAT instance using for every EC2 for subnet 2? No. All instances can talk to a single NAT because we are actually adding at the route table kada. We are not connecting to the instance, guys. We are actually connecting to the subnet. So all the instances in the subnet will be able to access to the NAT. Okay. Tell me about the CIDR brief. ఇది మీరు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయండి పా గూగుల్లో క్లాస్లెస్ ఇంటర్ డొమైన్ రేంజ్ ఇప్పటి వరకు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసింది అదే కదా. ఓకే, సో హియర్ యూ కెన్ సీ CIDR అంటే ఏంటంటే how many IP addresses we can have it for a network or for a subnetwork will be defined. Okay, so VPC create just a cost? No. It will not charge us. రౌటింగ్ మ్యామా తేజ మళ్ళీ అడుగు, కంప్లీట్గా అడుగు. జయశ్రీ ఏం అడుగుతుందంటే వీ కెన్ ఎనేబుల్ ద CIDR, ఇట్ షోస్ ద పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్. ఇఫ్ యూ డిసేబుల్ ద CIDR, ఇట్ కాంట్ షో ద పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్. ఓన్లీ దిస్ ఆర్ దిస్ యూస్ ఆర్ అనదర్ యూస్ మ్యామ్. అయ్యో జయశ్రీ నాకు అర్థం అవ్వలేమా. ఎవరికైనా ఆన్సర్ చేస్తున్నావా నువ్వు, నాకు చెప్తున్నావా? Wait. We can enable the CIDR, it shows the public IP address. No. Enable the CIDR kaadu. See, the CIDRs which I'm creating, these are basically the private IP addresses. Okay, these are the private IP addresses which I'm talking about. Public అనేది AWS అప్పటికప్పుడు మీరు ఎనేబుల్ చేస్తే క్రియేట్ ఇస్తుంది, లేకపోతే ఇవ్వదు. We cannot control the public IP address. We cannot create networks for public IP addresses. No, it's not possible. సో మీరు అర్థం చేసుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే మీరు ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఎక్కడైనా మీ ఓకే వర్క్ సరే మీ ఏమంటారు కాలేజ్లోనే వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారు కదా. ఐ మీన్ టు సే యూఆర్ స్టడీయింగ్ రైట్. మీ ల్యాబ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా, మేబీ సిఎస్సి వాళ్ళకి మీ కంప్యూటర్స్ అవి ఉంటాయి కదా. సో వాట్ ఐ కెన్ డూ ఇస్ ఇఫ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ 100 machines. Okay, so what I would do, I have 100 machines, these are in the same network. So I would create 4 subnet having 25 machines each. Okay, and I can give specific permissions to each subnet. So like EC వాళ్ళు యాక్సెస్ చేసే అప్లికేషన్స్ వాళ్ళకి మాత్రమే ఎనేబుల్ చేయడము, మిగతాన్ని బ్లాక్ చేయడము. At the same way I can do it for CSE, IT and mechanical whatever. Okay, so network ఏంటంటే group of machines connected together can be a network. So when you are going for a network, first of all, you have to give how many IP addresses you can go for it. తర్వాత అందులో మెషిన్స్ మీరు ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తారు సబ్నెట్స్ క్రియేట్ చేసి. And each subnet you can give specific permissions, of course with the route table or whatever. అలా అన్నమాట. అర్థమైందా జయశ్రీ? in VPC under sections we have more option modify auto assign IP. అది పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్. అది పబ్లిక్ IP అడ్రస్ మనం మాట్లాడుకుందాం రేపు. ఓకే, where does elastic load balancer exist? I mean near instance or near internet gateway. Elastic IP address a different concept అసలు. ఓకే, సి మీరు ఒకవేళ మెషిన్ నుంచి EC2 ని యాక్సెస్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఓకే, సో how you're accessing the EC2 instance like this. Okay, so elastic load balancer ఏంటంటే ఈ ఇంటర్నెట్ గేట్వే పైకి ఉంటుంది, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దాట్. ఎలాస్టిక్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ నుంచి మీరు ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్కి యాక్సెస్ చేస్తారు అట్లా. ఎలాస్టిక్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్ మా సెకండ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్, మనం తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు లాస్ట్ చెప్పుకుంటాం ఇది. ఓకేనా? సి అండర్ ద ఎలాస్టిక్ లోడ్ బ్యాలెన్సర్స్ యూ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్, బట్ ఇంటర్నెట్ గేట్వే అనేది డిఫరెంట్ కాన్సెప్ట్. we will be drawing in a different way. వేరే పర్స్పెక్టివ్ లోనే చూస్తాం వీటిని అన్నిటిని. ఓకేనా లక్ష్మి? యా, okay, so what we'll do tomorrow, we'll just try to implement the whole thing. Okay, so everything మనం ఇప్పుడు ఏమైతే చెప్పానో from this till the NAT, we may not be able to create the NAT gateway, but NAT instance to try చేద్దాం. Okay, so we'll create EC2 instances. ఈ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఏమో ఇంటర్నెట్ తో యాక్సెస్ అవుతుంది, ఇది అవ్వదు. And we have a few more things to discuss. We'll discuss that also tomorrow and we'll implement it. And తర్వాత మీరు చేయండి క్లాస్లో ఒక 2 days మనం దానికి డెడికేట్ చేసేసి. సో ఐ వుడ్ బి షోయింగ్ యూ కెన్ డూ ఇట్ ప్యారలల్లీ. ఓకే, ఎందుకంటే కొంచెం కాంప్లికేటెడ్, మీరు ఇంకా స్టూడెంట్సే కదా. యా, ఐ వాంట్ టు డూ ఇట్. అండ్ అసెస్మెంట్ నాకు తెలిసి అందులో ఫేస్ చేయలేదా, నాకు అడగండి. యా యా, ఓకే, చలో గైస్, బై బై. Thank you so much for connecting. Hope you understood. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye. Tata. మొహమ్మద్ రేపు అడుగు చెప్తాను, నేను ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పేశాను, మళ్ళీ చెప్తాను. సరేనా? యా, బాయ్ బాయ్.